Good morning, everybody. It's another very wet Wednesday, and the local waterways are already in flood, so I think this is going to just take them a little higher. I am on a hill, so at least my water is running down. Anyway, it's bound to end at some point, and we'll move out of this summer wet season. In the meantime, it's pretty hard not to have fuzzy hair, so you'll have to just take me with that. Anyway, today we're looking at what are you listening to. We're talking about establishing your heart in your recreated life and biblical holistic prosperity. Okay, so now we're using Proverbs 4:20 to 27 as a template of steps to take to establish our heart. There's a sequence. Hold on, let me just get this so I can hold it still. There's a sequence of steps that we can take there that are outlined actually in that sequence of verses, in that series of verses, and they make good advice on ways to establish your heart and keep it straight and maintain it. Okay, so we were looking at verse 20 and 21 are the first section that are what we should be doing. All right, so in verse 20 it says, my son, listen to my sayings, listen to my word, attend to my word, incline your ear to my sayings. So we are still on that verse, okay, and this is the third session on that verse. And now today I'm asking you, what are you listening to? In light of that admonishment from the Lord and in the Word, what are you listening to? Is it coming from the outside of you? Are you listening to friends and family? Are you listening to the news and media and advertising? Are you listening to movies or video games or books? And, are you, what else? I've got one other thing here, I think, if I could read my own writing. Oh, what are the community groups? What are you listening to and where is it coming from? All right. And then that's from the outside. Now, with regards to the inside, what are your own thoughts? What are the things that you find yourself saying to yourself? Are you even aware of the different things that you are thinking on a deep level? All right, because sometimes we're actually worried about something, or there's what I call an undercurrent of a thought. Like it could be someone that you care about or someone that you love, or it could be a positive thing or it could be a negative thing. But usually there's an undercurrent of some kind that's actually undergirding everything else that we think. And it's the one that actually governs in a lot of ways our state, our emotional state. So, you could have all sorts of things going on the outside, all sorts of wind and waves blowing, but if you have a sweet communion in your heart with the Lord, then you've got an undercurrent of peace, and that isn't actually touched by what's going on the outside. Conversely, you can have everything looking great on the outside, but live in fear in your heart, and so have a constant concern or worry that, things are not going to stay that way, that they're going to turn bad. So what are you speaking to yourself? What are the things that trigger your thoughts, and what kind of thoughts are they? When you're squeezed, what comes out? And finally, from the inside, what are your filters? Now, filters are a funny thing because we really do get very emotionally attached to our filters. We have reasons for why we want to hold on to them, and we don't want to let them go. They can become something of a sacred cow for us. So we have to know that we've got a reliable source that's actually helping us to clean our filters, so that we can see things objectively and not have such a bias. Like, we do all have some level of bias, but the thing is, the Word of God doesn't have a bias. God is perfect in righteousness, perfect in judgment, perfect in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. The Word of God has no bias. It is either of God, and it makes it clear. Words are death and life. There are no idle words. There are no idle intentions. They come from two different sources. That's it. They're either of God or they're not of God. All right, and if they're in line with God, then God calls them good. If they're not in line with the Word, then they're regarded as evil, just because they're not of God, all right, and not of His good. Okay, so I know that's a hard line for some people to deal with, but if you accept the Word of God as final authority and of being of God, then that's the stand you take. And the thing is, that gives you a very sturdy basis upon which to view everything else. And what happens is that how much of what you're listening to is actually from that word? Because here's the thing, if you've got all these other sources coming in, and none of those particularly, unless you've made them so, like if stuff coming from the news and the media and advertising is definitely not going to be stuff that's in line with the word, because it's not designed for that purpose. It's designed to create a need. It's designed to prey on fears. It's designed to build fear a lot of the time. Not many people can actually say that the news is good or that it's usually there to encourage you. Okay, and where there used to be such a thing as unbiased journaling, that doesn't really seem to be much of a reality anymore either. So you don't even get an objective viewpoint pointed out in an article, which is what a journalist used to do. So you don't really get that much anymore either. But anyway, aside from all of that, the one thing you can be sure of is if you make time to get into your word, if you make time to study and become aware of scriptures, then what happens is that it develops a new filter in you. It actually sensitizes your discernment. You are able to see differently. You are able to start viewing things from the perspective of God's perspective, God's view. All right, and that starts to change just as you put that word in, because the word of God is what actually produces that life in you. So as you put that word in, and you accept it as the word of God, it will begin to actually open your eyes to things that you weren't seeing before. And that's the amazing thing about the word of God. And it's not like any other word in the sense that it is actually of God, so it has an incredible potency in it that other words don't have. Okay, so you need to make time. Take a log. In the blog it says to do a log of, or in the workbook it says do a log of what you listen to on a day, in an average day, in an average week, in an average month. Look at what's coming from the world. Look at what's not of God. And then actually make a regular time and place. Don't worry if it's, half an hour as opposed to 3. But if you can take time from other things like watching TV or reading certain kinds of material, then put the word in for a little while and just watch what happens, even if you just try it for a 30-day thing and see what happens. And you'll see that there is a change that occurs. You will start to see things that you didn't see in the stuff around you. You will start to understand. You'll have a clearer filter. And if you keep cleaning that filter, because the washing of the word does that, then you will get a clearer idea of what's actually happening in the world around you and in yourself. All right? So my goal for you, my objective for you today is, what are you listening to? Take notice and make sure that you're putting more time in to listening to God. Put time into the Word, put time into studying the Word, put time into listening to other good preachers and teachers deliver the Word, and then watch things change. Okay? So that's it for today. Enjoy the rain. I hope you have undercover. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow for the last part of this week's blog and establishing your heart from Proverbs 4:20. But also I want you just to bear in mind that this Joshua 1:8 and Psalms 1:1-3 are the primary overview verses that we're looking at. If we establish our heart in the Word, we will have prosperity in all that we do. Okay? See you next time.